Welcome to the stitch tutorial for the Rua shawl. You will find the written pattern and all details on my blog anydesigncrochet.com, and I would encourage you to go there and follow along with this tutorial. For this shawl you will need 2 skeins of fingering weight yarn and a 4.5mm crochet hook. You will start with colour A and gradually introduce colour B. As you can see, mine don't have a huge high contrast in colour, but you can do one with contrast colour. So listen, let's start the tutorial now. Row 1. We will first of all make a magic ring, and we will chain 3. Your chain 3 will count as 1 double crochet here and throughout the pattern in the beginning of a row. We'll now make 2 double crochet into the magic ring and 1 treble. And pull your ring tight, and that's row 1. Chain 3, which counts as 1 double crochet, 2 more double crochet and 1 treble. Now for row 2 we will chain 5 first. You can turn and chain 5, or I do my chain and then I turn. Chain 5 and turn. Your chain 5 will count as 1 treble and a chain 1 here and throughout the rest of the pattern. And we will now make a puff stitch into our first stitch. Our puff stitch is yarn over, hook into the first stitch and pull up a loop. We have 3 loops on our hook, and we will do that 3 more times. Yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop, and 1 more time. Yarn over, pull through 8 loops. You have 2 loops left in your hook. Yarn over and pull through your last 2 loops, and that's your first puff stitch. Chain 3, skip next 2 double crochet and make a single crochet in our final stitch, which is the top of your first chain 3. And that's row 2. For row 3, chain 3 and turn. 1 double crochet in your first stitch, which is at the base of your chain 3. We will now skip our next chain 3 space, our puff stitch and our chain 1, and we will work our next group of stitches into the 4th chain. So you skip your chain 1 and you will do it into the 4th chain of your beginning chain 5. But if you want to tip here, I just do the stitches straight into the space. It makes it much easier than fiddling around your hook into that stitch. So what we will do into that space is we will make 3 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet, and 1 treble. And that's row 3. You have a total of 7 double crochets and 1 treble. Row 4, we will chain 5 and turn. A puff stitch in your first stitch at the base of the chain 5. Three, 4. yarn over, pull through 8 loops, leaving 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through your final 2 loops, chain 3, skip 2 double crochet and make a single crochet in your chain 1 space. Chain 3, skip the next 4 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, and in your final stitch, the top of your beginning chain 3, we will make a puff stitch, chain 1, 1 double crochet, and that's row 4. Row 5, chain 3 and turn, make 3 double crochet in your first chain space. So there's your last double crochet from row 4, chain 1 and puff stitch, and in your first chain space we will make 3 double crochet. Skip the next puff stitch and chain 3 space, and we will make a V-stitch into our single crochet, and the V-stitch is 1 double crochet, chain 2, 1 double crochet into our single crochet. Skip the next chain 3 space, puff stitch and a chain 1 space, and again as before I'm going to go straight into my chain 5 space, and I'm going to make 3 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet and a treble, all into that chain 5 space. And that's row 5. And for row 6 we will chain 5 and turn, puff stitch in our very first stitch, chain 3, skip our next 2 double crochet and 1 single crochet in the chain 1 space, chain 3, skip next 3 double crochet, and we will make a puff stitch shell into our V-stitch, and a puff stitch shell is 1 puff stitch, chain 3, 1 puff stitch, all into our V-stitch there. There's a lot of puff stitches in this pattern. I love making them, so I think that's why I enjoy it. You get very fast at them after a while. Chain 3 and 1 more puff stitch. And there's our puff stitch shell made into our V-stitch. Chain 3, skip your next 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, That double crochet is part of the V-stitch, so you'll skip those 3 double crochet, and we will make 1 single crochet in our very last stitch, which is the top of the chain 3. And that's row 6. Row 7, chain 3, 1 double crochet in our first stitch. We will now make a shell in our next puff stitch shell, and a shell, if you look at your special stitches in the pattern, is 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet into that puff stitch shell space there. V-stitch in our next single crochet, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, all in the same single crochet. We will skip our next chain 3 space, our puff stitch and our chain 1, and as before, right into the space of the chain 5 there, we will make 3 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet, and 1 treble. And that's row 7. You can see the shape is starting to form, staying straight on one side, and it's increasing on the other side. Row 8, chain 5, and turn. Puff stitch into your first stitch, chain 3, skip your next 2 double crochet and make a single crochet in your chain 1 space, chain 3, skip your next 3 double crochet and make a puff stitch shell in your next V-stitch, chain 3, skip your next 3 double crochet, single crochet in your chain 1 space, chain 3, skip your next double crochet, 3 double crochet, and make a puff stitch, chain 1, 1 double crochet into your last stitch. And that's row 8. And for row 9, chain 3 and 3 double crochet in your first chain 1 space, skip your next puff stitch and chain 3 space and make a V-stitch in your single crochet. you're probably starting to feel there's a repeat in this now, and after this row your repeat rows will start. It's a 4-row repeat. Skip the next chain 3 space and make a shell in your next puff stitch shell. Three double crochet, chain 1 and 3 more double crochet. Skip your next chain 3 space and do a V-stitch in your next single crochet. And then in your final chain 5 space we will make 3 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet and a treble. And that's row 9. Row 10. Row 10 is the first row in your 4-row pattern repeat. Chain 5, puff stitch in your first stitch, chain 3 and 1 single crochet in your next chain 1 space, chain 3 and make a puff stitch shell in your next V-stitch. Chain 3 and 1 single crochet in your next chain 1 space, and you will repeat that across. Chain 3, puff stitch shell in your next V-stitch, chain 3, and your final single crochet will go into the top of your beginning chain 3 or your final stitch. And that's row 10. Row 11, chain 3, 1 double crochet in your first stitch, a shell in your next puff stitch shell, that's 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet. V-stitch in your next single crochet, shell in your next puff stitch shell, and you will repeat across to your very last V-stitch. V-stitch in your last single crochet, and in your final space you will make 3 double crochet, chain 1 2 double crochet and 1 treble, and that's row 11. Row 12, chain 5, puff stitch in your first stitch, chain 3, single crochet in your next chain 1 space, chain 3, and we will make a puff stitch shell in our next V-stitch. Chain 3, single crochet in our next chain 1 space, and we will continue that across. Chain 3, puff stitch shell, oops, chain 3, single crochet in our chain 1 space, and we will finish off this row with a chain 3, and we will make a puff stitch, chain 1 double crochet in our final stitch. And that's row 12. Row 13, chain 3, 3 double crochet in your first chain 1 space, V-stitch in your next single crochet, shell in your next puff stitch shell, V-stitch in your next single crochet, shell in your next puff stitch shell, and V-stitch in your final single crochet. And in your final chain 5 space, you will make as before 3 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet, and a treble. And that's row 13. And to continue on your shawl, you will repeat rows 10 to 13 until your shawl is as large as you'd like, or if you're making along with my pattern, you will finish on a row 82, or it would be a row 10 of the repeat, and you will work one final row to finish the shawl to give you a nice edging along the top. I'm going to show you how to do the very final row on your shawl. You will finish on a row 10, and then you can continue to the very final row, which is a row 83 if you're following along on the written pattern. And this is how you will make your edging row. So you will chain 3, turn, 1 double crochet in your first stitch, and in your next puff stitch shell we will make 3 double crochet, and instead of a chain 1 like in a normal shell, we will chain 2, and we will slip stitch back into our first chain. I like to catch 2 loops like that, slip stitch, and then make 3 double crochet back into the same space. See, we will make a V-stitch in our next single crochet, and we will make 3 double crochet, another piqué stitch, chain 2, slip stitch back, catching 2 loops if you can into your first chain, and then 3 double crochet. And you'll come to the end of your final row. You will make a V-stitch in your final single crochet, and as before you will make 3 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet, and 1 treble, all into your final chain 5 space. And that's your final row. Thank you for watching, and I hope you will go to my blog and find Rua Shawl on it. It's called anydesignCrochet.com, and there you will find the written pattern and plenty more free patterns for you as well. So I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you very much.